Hi, I'm Patrick Perry. I'd like to show you the Bullwish Evil Sandwiches Quality Hunger Force. I'd like to show you. Listen, okay? Listen. You need watch the call the Teen Hunger Force called the Boy Wish called Evil Sandwich. You gotta watch the videos. You got watch the videos. Now watch.
This episode is sponsored by SimpliSafe. SimpliSafe is an effective, reliable home security system with no contracts. It's also super easy to set up. It took me less than an hour to get mine up and running at the new house. Visit simplisafe.com/Babish to learn more.
Who are you? What is this?
It is the Brood Witch, forged in darkness from wheat harvested in hell's half-acre, baked by Beelzebub, slathered with mayonnaise beaten from the evil eggs of dark chicken forces into sauce by the hands of a one-eyed madman.
Hey, what's up guys? Happy early Halloween and welcome back to Binging with Babish, where this week we're taking a look at the Brood Witch. I'm just agitating this spooky looking meat and blood product. One of 666 separate meats we'll be using from an animal which has maggots for blood. I am, of course, just being humorous. We're making 5 different kinds of lunch meats. Starting with this guy, the honey baked ham, for which we first must manufacture a cure. For a 3-pound piece of pork, we're combining 10 grams of pink curing salt or Prague powder number 1, 50 grams kosher salt, and 1 gallon of distilled water. This is going to make enough curing solution for our 3-pound chunk of boneless pork shoulder, which we're going to cure in the solution for 3 to 5 days, depending on how thick your piece of pork is. We're moving both so we can get our creepy organ shot for the intro and so we can agitate it once per day, ensuring an even and robust cure. On cooking day, we're simply going to pat it dry, insert our temperature probe, and roast at 300 degrees Fahrenheit for anywhere from 2 to 3 hours, broiling briefly at the end if necessary to get a deep, dark crust. And there you have it, homemade ham. Is it from an animal that has maggots for blood? No. But despite that, it still tastes really, really good. It's going to make an excellent addition to our sandwich. Something else that's going to make an excellent addition to our sandwich is pastrami, which we're going to make from this brisket divided into its lean and fatty portions. For our cure, I'm going to start with a few tablespoons of pickling spices, about 2 teaspoons of Prague powder number 1, 1 cup of brown sugar, 100 grams of kosher salt, and 2 gallons of distilled water. Likewise, tiny whisk until everything is good and dissolved, and then we're going to drop in our brisket pieces. Then it's very much the same procedure as the ham. We're going to fridge for 3 to 5 days depending on thickness, removing and agitating once every 24 hours. Then when the magical day comes to transform our brisket into corned beef, we're going to desalinate for at least an hour in cool water. Do this, otherwise your tears of regret won't be the only super salty thing in the room. Then we're transferring these to a big old pot, covering with water, and bringing to a simmer for 2 to 3 hours. And just like that, we have created corned beef, but we're not done. In order to make it pastrami, we must cover it with a spice mix and smoke it. 3 tablespoons of crushed coriander seeds, 3 tablespoons of freshly ground black pepper, and about a teaspoon each mustard powder, paprika, garlic powder, and onion powder. Go ahead and tiny whisk that together until it is homogeneous, and then we are distributing it evenly across our corned beef, making sure that every nook and or cranny is saturated before heading out to the smoker for about 2 hours at 225 degrees Fahrenheit. There you have it, a slightly labor-intensive but totally worth it pastrami, but far from the most labor-intensive thing we're doing today, or this week rather. That's because next up we're making mortadella. I have here about 2 pounds of very fatty pork belly that I'm removing the skin from and cutting into half-inch chunks. I am then separating them into 2 evenly sized groups, the most fatty and the least fatty. The least fatty group we are spreading out evenly on a parchment-lined baking sheet and freezing for maybe 15 to 20 minutes until it's just starting to get firm around the edges, because it's going to be ground. The fattier bits we're going to reserve in a bowl and keep it in the fridge until we're ready to use it. This is going to become those big chunks of fat that you see in mortadella. We also need about 3 additional pounds of lean pork. I have here a whole loin roast that likewise I'm going to cut in about 1-inch chunks, spreading out evenly on a parchment-lined baking sheet and freezing for about 20 minutes. And we're also grabbing our grinder parts, which we've likewise kept in the freezer so everything is nice and cold, and grinding together using our largest grinding plate both the pork loin and pork belly. Now we have to make a spice mix. I have here a teaspoon each of star anise and caraway seeds, which I'm going to grind together until finely ground, pass through a fine mesh sieve to catch any big old pieces, and combine with a teaspoon each garlic powder, mace, white pepper, Prague powder number 1, and ground coriander. Also 3 tablespoons of kosher salt. That seems like a lot of salt. Let's make it more like 3 teaspoons. Once we've gingerly picked that back out, we're going to tiny whisk until homogeneous and add it to our coarsely ground porks, which we're going to toss together by hand until it's pretty evenly distributed throughout the meat, but it doesn't have to be super evenly mixed because it's headed straight back into the grinder, this time on the finest setting, presenting us with the purest of porky pastes, which we're still not done turning into as gooey a meat substance as possible. First, we're going to spread out our ground pork on some parchment-lined baking sheets and freeze them for about 20 minutes. And then remember those fatty pieces of pork belly? Well, they're about to get blanched, along with 3/4 cup of shelled, unsalted, roasted pistachios and 2 tablespoons of black peppercorns, the whole of which we're going to cover with boiling water. This is going to soften everything up so we don't end up with crunchy lunch meat. Once they've sat for about 20 minutes, we're going to strain them and set them aside. Then we are grabbing our chilled food processor blade from the freezer and adding our semi-frozen ground pork. Then we're going to emulsify it together with some frozen red wine and ice water, adding about 2 tablespoons each per pound of pork that we're processing in batches for about 45 seconds until it is emulsified into a smooth, creamy ball. Once all of our pork is processed, we're going to place it into our very largest mixing bowl, give it a little massage before grabbing a little piece and patting it out into a patty, which we're going to fry up real quick and taste to make sure that the pork is properly seasoned. It's a little late to add seasonings now, but you could add more salt if it is needed. Once we're good to go, we're adding our cooled fat, nut, and peppercorn mixture and mixing until evenly distributed throughout the paste. Then it's time to form our pork into the eventual log that will embody our mortadella. Did that make any sense? We're forming the pork into a log. On a few layers of plastic wrap, we're both patting it out and pressing any big chunks of fat into the center so they're not protruding out the sides. Once your desired log shape is achieved, we're going to wrap it tight in plastic wrap, twisting up each end like a big piece of pig candy, and rotating and twisting each end so the plastic wrap becomes taut, and we end up with a very tightly wrapped piece of lunch meat that we're going to fridge for 24 hours, both so our loaf solidifies and so the flavors can have a chance to get to know each other. We're taking one last chance to even out any inconsistencies, vacuum sealing and sous videing at 158 degrees Fahrenheit for 5 to 6 hours. Traditionally, mortadella is simmered at about 170 degrees Fahrenheit, but sous videing is just way super easier. 5 hours later, and weighed down with a plate if somebody decides to get a little floaty on us, we are transforming our sous vide into an ice bath like magic and plunging our pork inside, letting it cool completely before heading into the fridge. Our other meats are much simpler. For our pepper turkey, we're just going to simply coat a turkey breast generously with kosher salt and freshly ground pepper, let it sit in the fridge overnight before roasting at 300 degrees Fahrenheit for about 45 minutes, or until it registers about 145 degrees Fahrenheit. Don't worry, it will raise up to 155 over time. Likewise, with our eventual roast beef, we're just coating a large eye-round roast with a whole bunch of kosher salt, freshly ground pepper, and letting it sit in the fridge overnight before roasting at 300 degrees Fahrenheit to an internal doneness of 120 before fridging and slicing. Now on to an equally important factor in our sandwich equation, the bread. In the bowl of the stand mixer, we're combining 510 grams of bread flour, 20 grams of sugar, and 10 grams of instant yeast, tiny whisked to homogeneity. Then we're adding 1 cup or 236 milliliters of whole milk, 3 tablespoons or 44 milliliters of vegetable oil, and then 1 egg or whole metric egg, a few generous spurts of red food coloring to get that devilish red look, and 12 grams or 2 teaspoons of kosher salt. Affix dough hooks and mix on medium speed for 7 to 10 minutes until a smooth, soft, supple, bouncy dough forms. One that's as red as the blood red moon that is the only light in your ever-darkening soul. Form into a ball, plop back in the bowl, and let proof at room temperature for 1 to 1.5 hours or until doubled in size. And now, unlike most breads, we must form it both into a sandwich roll and into some horns and a tail. First, we're going to cut off a small piece to form into our brood witch trappings, and the rest we're going to roll out to about a 16 by 12 inch rectangle, which, like a jelly roll with no jelly in it, we're going to start rolling up, pinching from the bottom and rolling towards the top lengthwise, forming and twisting into a submarine roll, being sure to pinch the seam along the bottom. Then we're going to roll the other pieces into horns and a tail. I can't really explain audibly how to do this, just do it. I don't know. Place everybody on a parchment-lined baking sheet, cover with greased plastic wrap, and let rise at room temperature for 45 minutes, until it's poofy and springs back gently when poked. I'm going to make some last-minute revisions to my horns and tail because they're going to triple in size when we bake them. Place 4 shallow slashes in my loaf and bake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 18 minutes, or until the thickest part of the bread registers 200 to 210 degrees Fahrenheit. Let cool completely on a wire rack whilst we prepare the last homemade element of this sandwich, a super easy mayo courtesy of J. Kenji Lopez Alt. In a container wider than the base of our immersion blender, we are combining 2 whole eggs, 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, 1 some crushed garlic clove, and a pinch of kosher salt. Blend lightly until just combined, and then we're going to top with 2 cups of a neutral flavored oil like vegetable or canola. Then we are plunging our blender head into the bottom of the cup, and then from the bottom up, immersion blending. And you will watch with delight as before your very eyes this once liquidous mess turns into a mountain of magnificent mayo. And now it is my distinct pleasure to introduce you to a new member of the family, my deli slicer, which I'm going to use to make razor-thin work of all of our now chilled deli meats. Starting with the mortadella because that's the one I'm the most excited about, and would you look at that, we made mortadella. So now on its very thinnest setting, we're going to repeatedly whack away at our emulsified loaf of meat, creating layer after delicious meaty layer. I don't know if there's a subreddit for slicing things porn, but here you go. Mortadella, ham, turkey, pastrami, and of course roast beef. Sure, it's only 5 meats instead of 666, but come on. Now, finally, it's time to assemble that which cannot be disassembled or taken apart, the Brood Witch. First, we are going to generously slather our homemade mayo across our bottom loaf, followed by, as our disembodied narrator from hell describes, Dijon mustard. Then it's time to begin layering cold cuts, so we're going to grab all of our cold cuts out the fridge, get them ready for assembly, and now it's time to pile high our sandwich with all of our homemade cold cuts. A moment of silence, please, as we watch this thing come together. And there we go, as monstrous a mountain of meat as ever was made. And now for a few slices of the one thing that embarrassingly was not homemade, cheddar and provolone cheese, our bed of evil and lettuce, and of course, copious amounts of sun-dried tomatoes, which Master Shake hates of course, but I love, so I think my soul is in trouble. One last smear of mayo and mustard, and then it's time to top the whole thing up. And then all there is left to do is wipe up any ancillary mustard smears on the outside of the sandwich and affix our horns and tail, which I'm going to do simply by cutting some holes and shoving them in. No toothpicks or tape or anything like that. We want this whole thing to be edible. And there you have it, the Brood Witch, which I know cannot be disassembled or taken apart, but it really needs a cross-section. And as you can see, what we've got ourselves is a really good-looking Italian combo, pretty much. Time to take a bite and see how it tastes, and it's definitely not the best damn sandwich I've ever had in my life, but it's up there. The bread is soft and squishy, the meats are thin and flavorful, the mayo is unbelievable, oh my god, no. I have tasted the future, and it is scary, and it has an axe. It might not be able to protect you from a sandwich from hell, but today's sponsor can keep you, your family, and your home safe. Thanks again to SimpliSafe for sponsoring this video. Like I said before, the setup process is easy and fast. They've got sensors to cover every window, room, and door, plus other extras like temperature sensors and HD cameras. You can choose the pieces that work best for you and your home, and pick the monitoring plan you want with no contracts. The SimpliSafe Monitoring Center will call the police if alerted to anything. If you're looking for a reliable, easy-to-use security system, visit simplisafe.com/babish. The link is in the video description below.
Okay, I'm gonna go to the website. Just hang on. Here you go. This is called, you see right here? This is called the Evil Sandwich. Now, I'm gonna click right here. Right here. Look at that. It's a delicious sandwich. Now, okay, I'm gonna drag right here. Okay, but I'm gonna read out loud. Now you gotta listen to this.
The Brood Witch from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. February 14th, 2019. 6 comments. Cartoon Network. Dinner, featured. Evil voice, it is the Brood Witch. Forged in darkness from wheat harvested in hell's half-acre, baked by Beelzebub. Slathered with mayonnaise beaten from the evil eggs of dark chicken forces into sauce by the hands of a one-eyed madman. Cheese boiled from the rancid teat of a fanged cow layered with 666 separate meats from an animal which has maggots for blood. Frylock, see? Told you. Master Shake, I tasted mustard. Evil voice, yeah, Dijon mustard. Master Shake, well, how come no bacon? Evil voice, bacon is extra. Master Shake, you call this a sandwich? You don't have bacon on it. Evil voice, there are no swine evil enough to sacrifice upon a bed of evil. And lettuce. Bed of evil and lettuce. Master Shake, I will say this. Bacon aside, this is the best damn sandwich I've ever had in my life. Evil voice, eat all of it, and you will suffer the wrath. Broodwitch, Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Cartoon Network, Season 2 Episode 16. Happy Valentine's Day. If you are looking for something romantic to do today, might I suggest a one-way trip to the Broodwitch dimension? Jerry's patiently waiting on the other side with a heart-shaped box of chocolates. Wait, no, he's got an axe. My mistake. Making the Broodwitch sandwich required a few adjustments, since I don't currently have access to any groceries that come directly from hell. Here is my list of substitutions. Ingredients. Wheat harvested in Hell's Half-Acre, baked by Beelzebub equals homemade wheat bread, mixed with a lot of red food coloring. Mayonnaise from the evil eggs of a powerful dark chicken equals regular mayonnaise. Cheese boiled from the rancid teat of a three-headed fanged cow equals cheddar cheese. 666 separate meats from an animal, which has maggots for blood equals 6 different sandwich meats: turkey, chicken, beef, ham, salami, and capicola. Dijon mustard. Lettuce. Sun-dried tomatoes. No bacon, you call this a sandwich? Directions. Note, I got the bun recipe from here, but half the ingredients. Before the dough is proofed, add basically an entire bottle of red food coloring to get to the right evil color. You might need to make adjustments to the color depending on how much bread you are making. Set aside some extra dough for horns and tail. Once you have proofed, rolled out, and baked the oversized, red hoagie bun, set it aside to cool. Bake several devil horns for the top of the bun. Once cooled, cut the hoagie roll in half, additionally cut 2 ear holes on the top of the hoagie. Assemble the sandwich with all the ingredients. Don't eat all the sun-dried tomatoes, unless you actually want to travel to the Broodwitch dimension, or you've had some free brain surgery. Before anyone even points it out. Yes, I forgot the devil tail for the sandwich. Does that make me a bad person? No. Am I a bad person? That's up for debate. With or without the tail, the Broodwitch sandwich wasn't half bad. There was a lot going on with each bite, what with all the meat and cheese. Also, I'm not sure if it's good for anyone to be ingesting that much red food coloring in one sitting. At the same time, I'm not currently being terrorized in an alternate dimension, so overall a win, I would say. Cromulence, 7 azaleas out of 10. The Broodwitch from Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Season 2, Episode 16.
Well, I hope you like my videos. I hope you like it. Well, maybe that's it.